Alright, this video should hopefully explain how my ballast setup is working, or how it's set up and works. First, you got the dash here. We got 3 switches. You have left pump, right pump, and let me focus here a little better, and the front pump there. Each one is using the circuit breaker over here. I believe it is these 2 breakers and the heater breaker is what's feeding each of the pumps. So there's wiring up underneath the gunnels here. Goes all the way back over here to the pumps. We'll pull off the seats here. Sorry, the boat's a bit of a mess right now. So you can kind of see what we get going. So there are 3 pumps. This pump here is the starboard pump. Then you got 2 other pumps. I believe this one is my front pump and this one is my port pump. In here, for this pump, we'll start with the starboard pump. So you got the through hull intake, which, let me see if I grab my light, you can see. Down in here, it's hard to see. But basically I did a through hull. In that through hull, it comes up to check valve. Check valve goes to a T. T goes into the pump. When the pump's pulling forward, the check valve pulls through, feeds it, and then feeds the actually 2 bags we'll get into in a little bit. When you're draining, drains back out, hits here because the check valve closes, instead is going to go through this T. This T feeds up and around, it's down through the engine bay at the bottom, comes up, and actually it goes this direction and pumps out of the port side. The reason being it pumps out of the port side is because I have everything cross-vented. That way when the boat's tilted and leaning when I'm surfing, it doesn't drain out the side. So the bag, the 1,100 pound starboard bag actually pumps out and vents out the port side, and vice versa for the starboard bag, it actually comes out each side. So if you look under here, well, actually I'll show you the other side, it's a little easier. If you look under here, you'll be able to see there's actually a T up underneath. And crap, let me grab a light here so I can show it to you a little better. There should be a T underneath here. You can see that. That T's in, and there's another check valve that basically one T's out to my 2 through hulls over here. So there's 2 through hulls, and I'll show you what the other through hull does in a second. And it does the same thing for both bags. So it drains through. Each vent line shares both a vent and a drain. So for this pump over here, it comes up and over, goes across, and drains out the side out of the second through hull here. This one I'll explain in a second. For the starboard pump, it does the same thing. Pardon me, port pump. The port pump comes through, feeds in from this through hull right here. So this through hull over here. Same deal with the check valve. When it drains, it comes through here, comes up around, over, hits the T. And T has one feed from the bag over there, which had the check valve, and the other side it T's out and goes over to here. Actually, which T is that? I don't remember now. Yeah, it's going back over. So, you get your drain over here. You can't see where the other stuff is, but regardless, there's a check valve for each bag. Goes into a T. Then the other side is from the pump. That way, basically, you can't check back into the bag, but it will go and feed out of a through hull. So when it's draining, it's not going to go in, drain back into the bag. It'll actually just drain out to the vent. But when you're filling, if the bag fills up, it'll go out of here. It'll go back to the pump, but because of the way the pump's pumping, it's just going to go and fill out the vent. So it works out just fine. So let's go a little bit more to my starboard pump here. it goes to an output, and the output actually goes to diverter valve here. Diverter valve does two things. When set this direction, it fills my starboard bag. When set this direction, it actually fills my port undersea surf bag. There's a hose that goes around, feeds around. It's this hose that feeds around, under, over, and back. Move this over here. Back over to here. Quick disconnect fittings. Everything's quick disconnect fittings. The only way you should go because you want to be able to remove your bags easily. So that's for that pump. Port pump's very simple because it's got one output. That one output goes straight to the input of my 1,100 pound bag over here, if you can even see it, but it doesn't really matter. It's just an input to a bag. There's not much really to see. So it goes and fills that bag. Bag goes, fills up, comes out, check out the vent there, goes to the check valve, goes across to the T over there, drains out the side. Then we have the other pump, that pump here, which is the front pump. Again, has a feed with a check valve down here, feeds to another through hole, goes to an output. Output feeds up and over, up. You can see here where this hose is down here, then goes across and continues to go across. It's actually hidden back underneath the bag here. It's hard to see, but you can get the idea. Goes, runs around, goes up through the gunnel a little bit, over underneath here. It actually veers up a little bit. There's a little block off, so it kind of goes up and over a little hill. Then comes back around into where my batteries are. So I have two batteries sitting underneath the seat, and I actually drilled a little hole there. Pump goes around, anchor under here, and goes up and over, and it goes to a fly high diverter valve. So two different kinds of diverter valves. That diverter valve there is Select, C-Choice, whatever it is, diverter valve. It is about a third of the cost of the fly high. You don't see that one though. This one over here, the fly high, you do see because I actually have it drilled through and mounted in here. The reason I did that is because the other one you can't actually make the nose of it long enough to actually get through the seat base to actually do anything with it. So that's why I use a fly high here. Up is front bag, down is ski locker bag. So real simple, it feeds in to here. One output here, that's the output that goes down through the floor into the bag, the ski locker bag. Then it goes over here to a T. Let me see if I can turn the interior lights on. I'll go see. Probably color change right now. But there's a T over here. One goes into the floor, one goes to the one side of the bag up underneath the seats, which I'll show you each bag. One bag here, it's pretty dirty. And then there's a vent up in there that goes up and out. Then in the bow, there is the under seat bag. And the under seat bag just wraps around under. I'll leaf get in there. And there's another fitting. I'm not going to move my sub so you can see it, but basically that one line that goes down to the floor in the observer compartment actually goes across under the top of the ski locker. You probably can't see, so it's like actually zip tied under top. Comes back up underneath where my sub is back there, and just goes a little hole drilled in the back and feeds the back of this bag. The reason I'm feeding the back of this bag like that, I don't know if you can really see or not, is it seems to not drain as well, especially when you have the boat listed, if you only feed one side and drain it on one side. So by feeding both and draining on both, the bag evenly drains and fills and compacts real nicely. Because if you get the back of the boat listed back down in the back, and the boat's kind of leaning over, the water has to go up and over and back down, and it makes it real hard to drain it back out. So this way works a lot better. So let's talk about the drains a little bit. I've got on the outside of the boat several through hulls. I got two at the front here. This one here is the through hull vent for the front bag. This one here is both the through hull vent for the ski locker bag. This is also the vent that is used to drain the front pump. So the front pump, actually, where the T is on that front pump, actually tees off, goes around, up, and follows some hoses, and goes down the gunnel all the way across, up underneath, and just tees off right here again, and boom, shoots out. Over here, we have 2 through holes. That one is the through hole that's for the port side bag, and that one is for the bilge. And otherwise, you got the 2 on the other side. One was the, let's see here. One was the one for the starboard bag, and also the drain for the starboard pump. This one here is just for the port underseat bag. That's all it does, is just for a vent. That's pretty much it. And this also shows me I really need to clean my boat because it is nasty right now. Otherwise, everything just basically 3 switches and works, and you got the 2 diverter valves. That's really about it. Everything fills nicely, drains nicely. The vent for this one here, the underseat port one, it does work. It will vent. The only problem is it'll start lifting the seat before the vent really does anything. So when the seat starts coming up, because you'll see it start tilting up, you basically stop, and if you sit down on it, it'll drain out the vent out back there, or if you just reverse it a little bit, it'll start going out. Kind of same thing for the ski locker. The locker will start popping up, then you'll know, all right, good, I need to stop or step on it, and it'll drain out the side. Front one, for the most part, it can start lifting the seats, but it'll pretty much start venting out before it does much with that. The back 2 lockers are the ones that are the most important. Those, just as soon as they get full, they shoot out. You don't have to worry about anything. That should be it. Let me know if you have any questions.